Greetings, all ones and ones. Greetings in the name of Kedemawe Haile, Selassie I. Bless all sons and daughters of my Father. Blessed be Kedemawe Haile, Selassie. Bless them that bless themselves in Rastafari. Him, Nigusa Niga in Ethiopia, Exebia, Yemisken, Sila. Firstly, let me begin by quoting Enoch chapter 24 verse 8 that says, "The mountain which you behold, the extent of whose head resembles the seat of the Lord, will be the seat on which shall sit the holy and great Lord of glory, the everlasting King. Then he shall come and descend to visit the earth with goodness." Enoch, a great patriarch, a king of kings in his time, a professor of the council of the heavenly monarch, and amongst others, he is a philosopher of truth and righteousness. This is so as Enoch was so powerful in all regards of righteousness that he was summoned to educate the heavenly watchers. I say this to remind all ones and one that the teaching of Enoch was nothing to compare with, and with his reference of this dissension and earthly visit of this king, we accept and look forward for this day. King David was glorifying the aspect of his dynasty. King David was glorifying the aspect of his dynasty as regarding the clarity of the promise given by the Most High. On this behalf, the king was certain of such fullness as the scriptures made evidence by saying, "I have made a covenant with my chosen. I have sworn unto David my servant, thy seed will I establish forever, and build up thy throne to all generations." Selah. Psalm 89, 3 and 4. The verse is an oath from the Almighty Shaddai himself, saying that he had chosen David and will establish his throne forever. Exebia referred to David as a servant in Psalms 89, 3 and 4. But then he referred to him as a firstborn and a king higher than all kings of the earth in Psalms 89, verse 27. So tell me, whom did the Almighty make reference as the coming King of Kings when he uttered such promise? When he made a promise unto David, when he called David his firstborn, and when he said he would make him king, a king higher than all kings, of which it make reference, a king higher than all kings, meaning king of all kings. The answer is true, as we made mention of Psalms 89, 20 and 21 that says, "I have found David my servant, with my holy oil have I anointed him, with whom my hand shall be established, my arm also shall strengthen him." They have spoken and done it. The phrase, "my hand shall be established," as it is written in the Psalms, is spoken of a literature, the form of literature, for the words, "he shall establish my kingdom," or tabernacle. The quotation is in similarity. The words that refers, as it says, with whom my hand shall be established. Rastafari is definitely speaking. The Almighty is definitely making reference that David shall establish his kingdom. The phrase, "my hand shall be established," is a spoken literature for the word, "he shall establish my kingdom," or tabernacle. Whether Exebia meant a physical tabernacle, or a kingdom, or a spiritual one, the honors to establish this kingdom was given through the Davidic lineage. However, David did not build that physical or spiritual tabernacle. But Solomon was allotted the promise to build the physical tabernacle. One must understand that Iyesus did not build a physical tabernacle, as a matter of fact, but he establishes a foundation for a spiritual one. One must underline the word foundation, as a foundation is not a practical or a complete building, but the beginning of such. In order that Iyesus had returned to the bosom of the Father, it was then necessary to say that an era was ended and another began. It is understandably so, as Iyesus Kirisitosi had gave up his life, fighting for the freedom of I and I, fighting for I and I salvation. After he had been slain, he was taken up to the right hand of the Most High. He was sitting by the right hand of the Most High. He was placed in the bosom of the Father. In all this, Iyesus, as a slain lamb, now at the right hand of the Father, made a will and a way for the descension of the King of Kings, Haile Selassie. In this point in time, another era has begun, and it began with the Christ King, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the elect of Jah, the light of I and I. David made mention of two sitting sovereigns, and unlike the Septuagint or the Latin version that made mention of two lords, the inscription within the original did not make reference directly to two lords, but the name of one and the title of the other lord. Original inscription, according to the Jewish Hebrew inscription, shows the detail of a hidden name for the greater Lord and a title for the lesser Lord. The hidden name for the lesser Lord is Yahweh, the tetragrammaton, the fullness of the name given by the patriarch Moses as reference to the Septuagint was YHWH. In reference, the greater Lord in the Psalms had been written in the token of this name, YHWH, Yahweh, and the title of the lesser Lord, Adonai. With transliteration and translation falsification occurs. The 6th canon version in itself made complication the error of transliteration and translation. Therefore, in this fullness of the scripture, according to the 6th canon version, David made reference by saying, Jehovah, which is the greater Lord, said unto my Adonai, which is the lesser Lord, sit thou at my right hand until I make thy enemy thy footstool. It says, Jehovah shall send the rod of thy strength out of Zion in the midst of thy enemy. For Jehovah, which is YHWH, had sworn and will not repent. Thou art the priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. The Adonai at thy right hand shall strike 2 kings in the day of his wrath. So it's natural to understand that in reference of Psalm 110, in the original text we would not see the Lord said unto my Lord, but we would see Yahweh or Jehovah said unto the Adonai. The word Adonai is the word used amongst most kings when they would refer to each other, one would bow and said, my Lord. It is simple, simplistic of that word that would be a written code in the Jewish order that makes mention of the word Adonai. Adonai is a word used in the Hebrew text, wherein in translation of the English text, instead of they use the word Adonai, they would use the word Lord. In the Hebrew text, in the line of the Septuagint, and some place of the Koine Greek, you would see instead of the name of the tetragrammaton, some person would have used another name for the Almighty. However, in this Psalm 110, the first Lord, as Lord is a title, Lord is not a name. But in the Psalm 110, where you would see the Lord said unto my Lord, the first Lord would have been a name. You would not see the word the Lord said. You would have seen the name of the Lord, meaning Yahweh said. So Yahweh said to the Adonai, sit thou at my right hand until I make thy enemy thy footstool. In reference, we as Rastafari are conscious of the concept of this fullness and the prediction of King David in reference to Psalm 110. In that he speaks of his son and the fullness of his dynasty. David, within all consciousness, foreseeing the blessed day of this coronation, and he speaks with great dignity regarding this sitting king. The prophet King David probably read the scripture of Enoch pointing to this blessed day. In this reference, Enoch pointed to the day that the Messiah would come and visit the earth with goodness. Enoch 24 verse 8. In this we already understood that Iyesus concluded the fact that David was not referring to his, meaning that David was not referring to Iyesus as a coming Lord, as in the first advent, but he was referring to the second advent. And why was it so? The Most High explained this by pointing to the event of time where when David said, sit thou at my right hand until I make the way possible for your reign as King of Kings. Sit thou at my right hand until I make thy enemy thy footstool. The Rastafari is wonderful in all his aspiration, and has disclosed his truth to I and I say this to reiterate the fullness of the sitting king, as it should be a manifestation of flesh and a physical throne. I speak with understanding as regard truth, where the scripture outlined the fullness saying, therefore, being a prophet, and knowing that God had sworn with an oath unto him, that of the fruit of his loins, according to the flesh, he would raise up Christ on his throne. David seen this before, spake of the resurrection of Christ, that his soul was not left in hell, neither his flesh did see corruption. It's quite understandable in the fact the understanding of the philosophy of the prophecy is quite clear. As it says, that of the fruit of the line of David according to the flesh, he will raise up Christ, sit on his throne. Why is it, speaking of the word flesh, raise up Christ according to the flesh? It is a moment of the resurrection, as David speaking concerning the resurrection of Christ. Then if we speak of the resurrection of Christ in flesh, what is he referring to? One must understand reincarnation from the far away. And if we reason on the word reincarnate, it's a simplistic of the word that means to come again, to return. It was not referring solely on the mysticism of the resurrection of Christ then. It was speaking of the resurrection to existence, in which regard it's saying that his soul was not left in hell, neither his flesh did see corruption, as 2:30 and 31. Beloved brethren and brethren, give praises to the Most High. We have come to the end of part 1 of this video, and I urge all ones and ones to get part 2 of this video, and continue to listen to the fullness of the Davidic fullness and the Enoch fullness of his Majesty Haile Selassie.